tap, tap in. Tap, 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 tap, tap in.
Welcome to TT from the D Podcast Tuesday, Tapping Tuesday segment. I am super excited about tonight's subject. I have to say, this is a little bit different from me. This is a pre-recorded show. Today is actually Monday, and I did my commercial for tonight's show yesterday, which is today. And by the time you see it, it will be Tuesday. And I'm super excited because I'm joining in spiritual unison about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do this with a wonderful woman who is a giver, who is very stern and firm for her love for children, for her love for people, and who brought something to the table that I think we got away from. Okay. And if you've paid attention to what's rolling at the bottom of the screen, is National Day of Prayer Request, which is going to be Monday, August 22nd. Now, it's not your global one that we might be used to. Some of you might say, hey, that falls in May, or no, that falls in June or July. And we have all these different times. But here's a fun fact, first of all, for you that I don't know if you know, and I learned when I started to dig in and look a bit, a little bit deeper as we talked about a corporate prayer request day, like a day of prayer where we are praying around the globe, no matter where you are in the world at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you know that saying, and I'm not going to throw a lot of scriptures at you, and I'm not going to, do any of that tonight. But if you know that saying, where there's two or more gathered in his name, then he is in the midst. And so if we come together collectively, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, some of you might want to even get together physically, and that's up to you. We're not asking you to do all of that as far as, we got to get face to face. We're still in a pandemic, yes. Some are still working in brick and mortar. You could get together and say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom at 10 if you want to. If you want to get together at 10 somewhere, do that. What I'm standing in agreement with the request from the woman I'm speaking of is the Special Education Director for Southfield Public Schools, Dr. Lanisa Freeman. She put the call out. And I just got chills with that. It's something we need, ladies and gentlemen. It's something we need. When I was growing up, I'm 46 and a half years old. Okay, so when I was growing up, I remember praying in school. They took time out when the bell rung. And in my school, shout out to Grayling Elementary, which no longer exists, but we prayed. We prayed every day in school. And it didn't seem like it wasn't a norm because that's all I knew. But as I got older, we started to separate ourselves and we got away from that, right? So I don't know, going back to the fun fact I said, Truman proclaimed the National Day of Prayer to be observed on, I believe it was July 14th back in 1952. Now, I don't know if y'all know that. And ever since then, Americans observe that in their own way. This is not something we do globally at the same time everywhere around the world, but a lot of people do have this going on in not only their homes, their organizations, their schools. It's a beautiful thing. And I know we have a lot of different cultures, and we, in different settings and different ways we worship and pray. And then there's people that don't worship and pray, and that's fine. And guess what? For those that don't worship and pray, I still would pray for you. And for some that I know that are non-believers, I still pray for them, and I still love them. Why? Because I love people, and I love my family and friends no matter what their walk is. I don't judge anybody, and I don't expect to be judged. But if I am going to be judged, that's okay. I'm okay with it. I stand on what I believe in, and I'm older now. It doesn't matter what man says. I know what has happened in my 46 years, and standing on a word given to me and words found in the Bible, right? And so, this book right here has been a good friend. Okay, it's been a good friend over the years. If you would say, it's been a good journal to have at your fingertips. But on Monday, August 22nd, I'm standing in total agreement, and I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls around the globe, to take a hard pause at 10 a.m. and join us spiritually and mentally in a day of prayer. We're going to pray for our children that's getting ready to return to school, our staff members that are getting ready to return to school, for the ones that go all year round that's been in there. There's a lot going on. Let's not even talk about the pandemic. There's just a lot going on. A lot of school districts have faced a lot of tragedy in the last couple of years, and it's becoming an unwelcome norm. We talk about it, and we will talk about prayer, right? It's funny, but not a hee hee ha ha funny. It's funny when tragedy strikes us. And it depends where. I hate to say that. It depends where in the world it strikes us. That you'll have world leaders saying we need to pray. Really? Only when tragedy strikes us? Okay. I'm looking at it like, so that's the only time you call upon God is when tragedy strikes. No, that's not the way I function, nor operate or work. And so I'm excited about what's getting ready to come on Monday, because I'm a prayer person. I'm a prayer warrior. And I know I can be witty and funny, and sometimes I can get you all the way together real quick, real hard. And I'm what? Flesh, right? I'm a woman just like every other woman. I'm flesh of my own flesh and blood of the blood that's running through my veins. And I am just flesh on bones, right? It protects the spirit that dwells within me. And when I think about not only my own children or my own nieces and nephews or godchildren or extended nieces and nephews or extended children that I love upon, I think about children, period. Like I think about the elderly. Okay. And it gets me when I think about how people can just be so heartless, where they take out their frustration or their hate or their anger or their sense of being lost out on innocent children or the elderly. But we're focusing on Monday, the 22nd, for the call for the day of prayer, to really ask everyone around the globe to pray for all of our children, all of our staff members that's in education. And I'm going to take it a step further and say even our world leaders, the people in office, whether that's the White House or the schoolhouse or the courthouse, people in leadership roles that create rules and break rules or dissemble rules. I'm going to ask us all to just pause on Monday and come together collectively, individually or collectively, and put that call out there, put that word out there. Now you might say, well, TT, I don't really know. I would join you. I don't really know how. Okay, I'm glad you said that. Let me stop my camera and share something with you. Okay, because we didn't come on here to really look at me any old freaking way, right? We came on here for the National Day of Prayer Request. And I'd like to share a few prayers, if you don't mind, that you could pray, or you could pray however you want. But for those that feel like they really don't know any prayers that they can pray on this day of prayer call, I'm going to share these with you, okay? If you don't mind, okay? Because we are coming together as one. Despite where you are in the world, we're coming together as one. So the prayer that I would ask you to think about gets its meats and potatoes from 2nd Chronicle 7:14, where it says, who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from the wicked ways. I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and restore the land. So I would say, Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings of living in this nation and this world. Today, we pray for our leaders across the land, from the White House, as I said, to the State House, the County House, the schoolhouse. We ask for your wisdom to guide them in all they do. Strengthen each leader with the ability to see past their own desires, their own thoughts, and do what's best, not only for the people they're leading, but for everybody that they come in contact with. Give our leaders your wisdom, your discernment, and your guidance as they lead our young people, our older people, our wise people. I would also ask for us to stand on prayer for wisdom by asking God to give us that gift of discernment to the 10th power, right? And then I would also ask, because our first responders are going through a lot, have gone through a lot, and sometimes we don't recognize what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I would say, God, I thank you for the first responders across this nation. Be with them as they put themselves in harm's way every single day, when they put on that uniform and step outside their own door, leaving their own families behind to keep us safe. Please give them your wisdom and discernment to know how to respond amid challenging situations. Send your angels to watch over and protect them and their loved ones. And may they return safely to their families at the end of their shift each and every day. Please guard their hearts and their minds against the stresses and anxiety of the jobs that's becoming more stressful than we could even imagine as they go about their way. I would pray for the people in the medical field that are dealing with the things, not only sicknesses, ailments of the body, but tragedies and traumas. I would ask God to pray for those in the medical field, caring for the sick in this nation. Restore their strength and peace when they are weary. And may they too turn to you as their source of hope as they search for answers and making the right decisions to take care of strangers that they encounter who happen to be friends and loved ones of those that we are coming together and praying for on this day, that they will always be covered in their own health because they put themselves on the front line just like our first responders, and that they are protected against any and every illness that they come encounter with as they are trying to nurse people back to health. And definitely I would ask for prayer for our families, by asking God to pray for our families in this nation, asking that he watches over every leader of a household, whether it's mother and father, or just father, or grandmother, or auntie, or uncle, or grandfather, whomever it is. Keep them safe from attacks of the enemy, because he is here, he is present, and he is not playing. And may they see the importance of who they are, the role that they play, because they are leaders in their own right. And the love that they have or they lack, that it flows abundantly and exceedingly. I would ask God to do that for them as well, Father God. I would ask that, right? I ask God to watch over the people in the military, okay? Those that's also putting themselves on the first line, by asking God to protect those serving in whatever form that they're serving us. Give them favor and victory to accomplish what they've been assigned to do, whatever that mission is, that they complete it in Godspeed and be able to return home safe and sound to their loved ones as well. As when we are resting and we are sleeping, these people sometimes are on the battlefield. We don't know the things they go through, the stories they create, and they have to be a part of to make sure that we stay safe. So I would ask God to also watch over the military people as well. And for everyone that's going through job loss, grieving, mourning, that God looks over them and asks Him to heal them right where they are. I trust that whatever is His will be done. And I know some people might say, oh, how could you say that? And what about this? And what about that? I can't answer your questions on that. All I can do is do what I'm doing. And that's simply saying, join me as we come requesting a day of prayer, right? Those were just some simple little prayers. You know, I didn't want you to get caught up and be busy about my screen, but I wanted to share those things accurately and on point with you. I'm not going to hold you long on this day. I want you to go about your business and enjoy your beautiful Tuesday evening. But I just had to stop by to pre-record this show because tomorrow I'll be about that business. You know, that cliche saying, health is wealth. It's true. So I'll be a stage manager tomorrow night down in Detroit for the Health is Wealth Expo brought to you by Black Coalition. And I'm super excited about that opportunity as well. I'm just excited. I'm happy about what God is doing, not only in my life, but in the lives of others. And the things that I'm seeing happening, it's not all bad. It's unfortunate that we do use social media to share bad. Sometimes I look at it and I say, we do it so people can be aware. And then sometimes I look at it and say, well, what was the purpose, right? I think when I share something that's not so positive, I share it because I want people to be aware. A lot of people are not aware of the things that are not good. But at the same time, I also like to share things that are positive because we have a lot of negative things in the world. But praying for our young people, you know, not just our school age kids, but even our young teenagers, our young men, our young women that are facing a lot of obstacles. Sometimes they go to a road, that pathway, that pitch in the road that splits up, and they don't know which way to go. They deal with not only peer pressure, but they also deal with not feeling adequate or enough, like they're enough. And we've all had to make choices. We've all had to make choices, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. And we all have to pay prices, right, for the choices we've made. We're not going to always make the best choices. This is true. This is fact. That's not a hypothesis. This is fact. Okay. And so the one thing I think that we all deserve is the right to go home every day, unless it's a natural ailment, I feel. But sometimes ignorant people, dysfunctionalized people tend to take a stand where they feel like they have the right to end people's lives because they're mad or they're filled with rage or they're filled with hate or they lack love. They lack empathy. They lack patience. Every day, I follow Crime in the D, but it will be your city, state, or country, but there's always something, right? There's always a life taken. It's one thing for an accident, okay, but maliciously, ignorantly, without purpose, without a reason. You know, I don't know why people are so full of rage and hate. We got a lot to deal with in this world. You know, people could simply not like me because of the color of my skin that occupies this skin overlay, right? They could simply not like me because I'm a woman. They could simply not like me because I'm a spiritual leader. They could simply not like me because whatever I do, whatever I wear, whatever I choose to say, where I may live, where I might work, you're going to always have people that'll say, I don't like them. I don't like him. I don't like her. Like, okay. A lot of people don't like stuff. I don't like certain things. I'm not too fond of some people, but I don't wish any bad on anybody. Now, there was a time I did. I ain't gonna lie to you. Why I gotta lie, right? Yeah. And I would say I hate or I wish that person wasn't here no more. But as I got older and I realized there's power in your tongue. I remember saying something out of anger when I was about 15 years old to a really dear friend of my heart. And we had words. And the last thing I said to that friend, I told him, I hope I never see you again. You get on my nerves. And the last thing he said to me after I said that was, I love you too. I'll see you later. And I know he knew I didn't mean that, but I said it. And I didn't mean it because as soon as he left, I was like, he get on my nerves, right? But that's the last thing he heard from me. And then somebody ignorantly, ended up taking his life. But he also was doing some ignorant things. And so, one sin is not heavier than the next sin. And when, that saying, people say growing up fast, back then I wasn't into the prayer thing like I am now. But I told myself that I didn't want to say things to folks out of passion and anger. And when I talk to people, when I do speaking engagements, depending on what I'm talking about in the crowd and the age of people I'm talking about, will depend on how I word things. But I tend to, especially when you're dealing with high schoolers. I remember talking to a group of young ladies. I was a mentor for SWAP. Shout out to Oak Park High School. Yatanya Martin, my mentor, but also one of the amazing social workers there. But I remember saying, if you get mad at a man or a woman or a boy or a girl and you decide that you're going to pick up a knife or a gun or a brick and bang somebody in the head or stab them or shoot them or whatever because you're mad, when you calm down, you can't tell her, him, them that you're sorry. Especially when you take their life through rage, right? Or you disfigure someone or you handicap someone. And I think a lot of times what we're dealing with and what we're seeing in the world is people don't know what to do with their anger, their frustration, their anxiety, I'm at my wit's end. You got families killing their whole families because they feel like I'm not going to have my children or my spouse begging and asking, so I'll just do this or do that. We got to put a stop to it. We need to create and bring back mental health facilities. And we need to do more things like what we're calling for on the 22nd. Not just the day of prayer, just because we're bringing our babies back to school and staff, but just prayer, period. If you could just add that to your day. And for those that don't believe in prayer, I still will pray for you. There's still somebody praying for you, whether you know it or not. Even the people that know that you are not a believer or you don't pray or you don't believe in that, and that's fine. Everybody has their own walk. And I always say this, I'd rather believe that there's a God and be a prayer warrior and do things and stand on my faith and find out there isn't one than not to be a believer, not to pray, not to stand on the word, not to stand on no faith and find out that there is. What can I lose if there isn't? Oh, but what can I lose if there is and I was not? So that's rhetorical. That's not for you to answer, neither me. It's just a thought that I think to myself from time to time when people go back and forth about that. So as I end this out, I just want to remind you that we're asking for people around the globe to join us at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time in a day of prayer as we pray for our children, our leaders, our educators, our families, our parents, people who are raising people. We need it. We do. I don't think that's asking too much. I can't tell you how long your prayer needs to be or how short it needs to be. You do what you feel in here and what you know up here, and let these two align and work together. Put it into the atmosphere. And even if you don't believe, if you're just willing to put it out there, do that too. Because guess what? You're still aligning with the prayer request. Cover these children as they walk to school, as they walk home from school, as they take the bus, as they carpool, as they ride their bikes. For those kids that ride bikes and it's so early in the morning that people that are driving that are in a hurry, that they slow down just a little bit because it's going to be kids out there. And children don't always make the best decisions with driving their bikes and walking. And they don't always make the best decisions with crossing the street. So I'm just going to ask that we just slow down. We slow down because we're always in a hurry. But we slow down and we take a moment, a hard pause on Monday, August 22nd for a day of prayer. I'm going to also have a segment that I'm going to do for Wind Down Wednesday on Spotify and Anchor. And that'll be shared globally. And I hope that you'll share this with others, especially all of our prayer warriors. Lean on your people. Lean on your circle. Ask them to join us in this special request. Well, that's all, folks. I get a little teary-eyed, a little some. But I mean what I say. And I said what I meant. So join us for our corporate day of prayer. And I'll see you soon.